Hello and welcome to Transitioning Youth Towards the Horizon, presented by the Southwestern Center for Independent Living. Portions of this presentation are taken from the Transitioning Youth Towards the Horizon Manual 2020 version. This manual was a joint effort between the Southwestern Center for Independent Living, West Central Service Cooperative, Southwest Minnesota State University, MINSCU, the Minnesota Department of Health and Human Services, Minnesota Department of Education, South Dakota Transition Services Liaison Project, Mindeed Rehab Services, and District 5M3 Lions Club. Other portions of this presentation are taken from various agencies and organizations referenced in that section. The purpose of these workshops is to provide information and resources for students and parents to learn about options for transitioning to life after high school. This workshop is not meant to be all-inclusive. There will be questions and information that we do not have time to cover. We encourage you to reach out with questions before or after the sessions and utilize the other resources and agencies we share with you. Today's session is session 2, assessing interests and skills and taking control of your education. This is session 2 in a 4-session series. There are numerous ways where you or your student can gauge interests or skills that a student may possess. Some of the websites that we recommend is ONET Skills and Interest Profilers, careeronestop.org, the National Center on Gifted and Talented from the University of Connecticut, educationplanner.org, and career development skills from mindtools.com. ONET Interest Profiler is a very simple way for your student to gauge their interests. Once they have filled out their interests, they will get results, which will show them different job zones and then different careers that may be of interest to them based on their interest profiler. The Skills Matcher from Career One Stop assesses your students' ability in 4 different areas of workplace skills. The skills then are matched with careers or career clusters that may be of interest to them. The interest assessment from careeronestop.org is 30 quick questions that gauges students' interest on a variety of things. You'll notice when you start the assessment, it is some very basic things, but it's a variety of things. And this is just to gauge what types of things that they're interested in that may benefit them in a career later in life. Mindtools.com, test your skills. This again is very short, 15 questions to answer, but it kind of gives an idea of if an individual is good in working in groups or works better alone, if they're self-motivated or a self-starter, they need extra guidance, maybe they're easily distracted, those types of things. And what's your learning style from Education Planner? This is helpful when developing an IEP, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but it's also helpful when choosing a career. If an individual is very tactile learner and they learn by doing things, a career sitting in front of a computer may not be beneficial to them because they thrive best when they are able to touch and feel and manipulate things. So those are all just different websites that you can access in order to take these skills assessments. They're all free. You can take them as many times as you want or as often as you want as your interests or skills shift and change. Other ways to assess your child's skills or interests. What classes or courses are they most interested in? What types of assignments seem easier for them? Are they better at writing papers, completing projects, doing speeches? What extracurricular activities are they involved in or interested in? Are they more artistic or involved in performance arts? Are they involved in athletics? Do they do FFA or BPA? Those types of extracurricular activities might help determine what they're interested in and also what their aptitude is for being able to perform certain tasks. Who are their role models? Who do they look up to? Do they look up to someone who has a specific job set? Is that why part of the reason why they look up to that person? Um, what are the types of skills and qualities that they look for in their role models? That can help give them some direction as to maybe not a specific career, but perhaps something that would interest them or a type of career, and help guide them in that direction as well. And what hobbies do they have? Are they active or passive hobbies? Maybe they don't have hobbies. Maybe they haven't really found a niche or something that they really enjoy doing. Maybe pursuing different hobbies will help them to explore some of their interests. And the great thing about hobbies too is they can stay hobbies. They can potentially be made into careers, um, but they're overall good for students' development and creative and innovative skills that they have. What is an IEP? An IEP is an individualized education plan. The process of getting an IEP begins with an evaluation for special education and it ends with the written plan for services and support. So that's what the IEP is a written plan that lines out the services and supports that your student is going to receive. The more you know about how to get an IEP and how it's put into place, the more active a role you can take in the process. The first thing that you need to determine is if your child is found eligible to receive special education services. So you can request an IEP from the school. You do not have to, but you can request to have your child evaluated by the school or the school's representative. You can also have it done privately for an additional fee. Sometimes the school will start the IEP process if they have an inkling that your student needs specialized services. Um, they evaluate a student's ability to read, write, comprehend, timing it takes for them to complete tasks, reminders that they need for certain tasks. Once they've determined your student's IEP eligibility, then the IEP planning and writing process can begin. There are 13 conditions, medical conditions or disabilities, whatever they might be called, different things by different people, that guarantee that your student does qualify for an IEP. If your student has very specific individualized learning needs, but they do not qualify for an IEP, they might qualify for a 504 plan, which is a little bit different. And we'll talk about that here in a second. The 504 plan would also provide accommodations and other supports for your student, but it would be slightly less formal. You can appeal the decision if it is decided that your student needs an IEP and you do not feel that he or she does. You can also refuse that decision if your student is determined to need an IEP and you do not agree with that assessment. So knowing that you are your child's largest advocate, making sure that you are utilizing the services that are available, but also ensuring that you're doing what's best for your child. So included in an IEP, if you go to understand.org, you can go to school learning tab, and it will give you some good suggestions for transition-based IEP goals. So specifically in these series of workshops, we're talking about transition from high school. And so transition-based goals are goals that a student can work towards while in school as part of their IEP to prepare them for life after high school. A lot of times these are financial based goals. So during what would be considered traditional math class learning, your student may have, in place of that or in addition to that, some financial literacy courses. So perhaps they will practice purchasing things off of a menu and dealing with money, paying with correct change, getting correct change back, or perhaps they'll work on how to budget or balance a checkbook, writing checks, how to open a bank account. Those are just some examples of financial literacy transition goals that may be in an IEP. There are other life skills goals, perhaps they will work on some custodial skills at the school in place of some of their science classes to help prepare them for potentially a career or just learning how to care for their home. They may help with taking out trash, sweeping floors, wiping down tables, helping clean up cafeteria area. They may help with distribution of lunch bags. It varies on the school and of course on your student and his or her needs and desires and abilities. These are just some examples. If you have a student who has a specific area of concern that you have for him or her, the best course of action is to have a upfront conversation with the rest of the IEP team and determine what a goal could be that will help your student achieve his or her independence as much as possible and help transition him or her to life after high school. This does not need to be something that is only a goal as a junior or senior in high school either. This can be done as early as you want. Starting especially in junior high level, 7th and 8th grade, it may be smaller, more simple stuff, but the longer and the earlier you work towards those transition goals, the easier it's going to be on your student. And the easier it's going to be to implement it within their learning program and have adequate time to study it and do their traditional studies as well. So keep that in mind. Again, your child's IEP team is made up of yourself, who is an expert on your child who is an expert on himself or herself, social workers, case managers, special education teachers, occupational physical therapists, school representatives, principals, superintendents, school board members. It varies again from location to location, but knowing that as a collaborative effort, if you work together, you should be able to come to a conclusion that works best for your child. But what happens if you disagree with the IEP goals or lack of an IEP? Now that your child has the IEP, it doesn't mean that the journey stops. There are biannual or at least annual meetings for IEPs to assess goals, assess how your student is achieving said goals, and if goals need to be changed. However, that doesn't mean that you are limited to 1 or 2 meetings a year. If you feel that your student requires an additional meeting or requires a change in an IEP goal or the way the goal is measured based on circumstances surrounding your student, maybe there was a traumatic event, an injury, an illness. There are plenty of reasons why you may need to change your student's goals. Maybe your student tells you that they have a specific goal they want to work on or one that isn't working for them. And know that that is perfectly acceptable and reasonable for you to disagree or want to change the goals. What you need to keep in mind is, again, that it's a team and everyone is working towards what is best for the student. Approaching your disagreement, of course, in a positive manner, requesting a meeting to address concerns that you have. Should do your best not to place blame on anybody or to point fingers, but to really try and come to a resolution that works for everyone. Of course, everyone is coming at it from a different lens or a different perspective. And so what you see at home may not be the same thing that they are seeing in school or after school or before school during study time. We know that kids and teenagers act differently with different people in their lives and in their different set of circumstances. So what is it that's going to help them best achieve that independence based on where they're at in their life? Are there other students around? Is there a lot of noise? Is it late in the afternoon versus early in the day? There are many different factors, other students in the class that may be distracting to them, whatever the case may be. And so trying to understand that from everyone's different perspective and lens, and knowing that you can come to a resolution that works best for everyone. And ultimately, the end goal is to do what's best for the student. And reminding yourself and everyone else on the team of that is going to be very important. So when you're in an IEP meeting, typically one person is going to lead the meeting. When your student gets older, it may be him or her. It may be the special education teacher assigned to your student, typically, or a case manager, perhaps, if they have a vested interest in your student's education plan and transition goals. What's important is that everyone gets an opportunity to speak, again, including the child, the student should get an opportunity to speak, to share what is working and what isn't working, both strengths and needs of the student. And I can't stress enough how important it is that it's not just a meeting about what the student needs and what they do wrong or what they cannot do. It's also important to highlight the strengths, to promote those, and to find resolutions and solutions for what works based on the student's strengths to meet their needs. And so again, really trying to provide a strength-based approach to these meetings is going to benefit everyone, and provide a little bit of additional motivation for the student as well, rather than sitting in a meeting where everyone tells them what they can't do. Try and have an agenda beforehand. Usually the case manager in charge of the student's IEP plan will have that scheduled. It helps if you write out a list of things that you want to address, or that your student wants to address. Also have, a plan or a contingency plan. If A isn't possible, then what's plan B? It's always good to have options, again, so that you are meeting the needs of the student while also addressing the different perspectives and goals and lenses that everyone on the team is trying to achieve. Some other helpful links and tools: transitioning to life after high school from the Pacer Center. Understood.org has a sample IEP transition plan, so you can use that for transition type goals that you may want to use in your student's IEP. ParentCenterHub.org, or the Center for Parent Information and Resources. There is transition goals in the IEP section on that website as well. All of these are available through links on the PDF document that will be made available on our website. Thank you for joining us for session 2, Transitioning Youth Towards the Horizons, presented by the Southwestern Center for Independent Living.